GM, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond PFPs, brought to you by OSPN, the Open Source People's Network. This podcast is in partnership with the Rari Foundation, the DAO behind the Rarible protocol, and the Rari chain. The Rari chain, which recently launched, introduces a platform with embedded royalties, low transaction fees, and high transaction speed. It's designed to support creators and developers in the NFT space, ensuring fair compensation and broadening the potential for NFT applications. Now, Beyond PFPs is a podcast that is all about exploring the depth of NFTs beyond digital collectibles, highlighting their impact within various industries. Today, we're discussing how Web3 will disrupt land ownership. We're here with MemeBrains, the founder of Public Board, a project that is democratizing physical advertising space, allowing for a much simpler and straightforward process for displaying physical ads. Glad to have you on the show, MemeBrains. We've been connected for quite some time. It's really nice seeing everything that you've been doing in this space thus far, and you guys been doing a great job with the public board. Just glad to see all of the new iterations going on there.
Yeah, thanks, man. Evolution, right? I mean, we've done so much in the last what I think we met probably 3 years ago, and the
Mhm.
space has changed, the market has changed, the details have changed, the nuances are all different. But one thing that hasn't changed is that this is all movement and expansions in this age of decentralization, whether it's NFTs or Web3 in general, or physical assets or land or digital
Mhm.
billboards. It's all part of this force, this movement that started and originated obviously with Bitcoin and bringing better money to the world and decentralizing how that all works and bringing that increased transparency. So it's cool to see like all the changes revolve around this center theme, and the theme remains constant, and the details you never know what they're going to be like when you wake up in the morning.
Most definitely, and I haven't seen any other project that's similar to the public board. So, just want to know like what inspired the creation of it, and how did you get started in the first place?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, in my own words, the idea with the public board, we're talking about digital billboards. So like digital billboards on the side of highways, those big ones you drive by, or even on bus stops, anything that's a digital billboard of any sort. And the idea is to make it as easy as sending a tweet to any digital billboard in the world. It should be that easy. It should be, everyone should be able to have access. In reality, no one listening to this pod app has probably, it's, well, maybe one, but like probably no one on this listening to this pod app has ever put any content on a large digital billboard anywhere at any point in their life. And I was in the same boat several years ago. I used to have a construction company, and I built it up. We had a good functioning business for a long term, happy customers, and I really wanted to display content on those digital billboards. Like when a storm would come through the city, and we did external, like exterior repairs. So when a big storm would come through, I wanted to be on those boards right now, immediately, and I was willing to pay any amount of money in order to do that. But it wasn't that easy. It was slow and painful. And so I never ended up putting any content on any billboards in the city. Now, I had a successful company in spite of that little handicap problem, but it bothered me. And so after I sold that company and, dove into the crypto worlds, digital nomading and stuff, I thought, what an interesting problem to solve for other people. And then I decided to try that out as a tech startup. And I started focusing on it in 2019 and did a bunch of contacts. I moved out to San Francisco area, and I went to every city hall from Sacramento down to San Jose, looking for permits, trying to get them all set up. Had a small team, built some tech, tested out the concept, and then started to get momentum. But then COVID happened. And that like shut the whole thing down, man. Like everything was gone. Why would I be in an outdoor digital billboarding industry when no one's outside, when no one's going
Right.
anywhere, no one's traveling? So paused the whole thing and did a whole bunch of other things, and that's what led me down podcasting and all these different types of crypto adventures and then in January or December last year we thought, you know what, my co-founder and I, we looked at each other. We're like, maybe it's time to bring this back to life. Maybe we're past COVID now, and maybe this is still there. And so we checked out the competition, and yeah, there are a bunch of competitors doing, somewhat similar, different fractionalization things and concepts around billboards, but they're still living in the past, And if they're listening to me right now, it's the truth. You're just living in the past, and you got to stop looking at the new world doesn't function the way that the old world did. And so our
Mhm.
competitors are really just making it easier for the old world of that industry to function. They're not reimagining it, they're not reinventing it. And we're looking at this like Airbnb and Uber did, right? Airbnb and Uber revolutionized their industries. They didn't just make it easier for hotels to do business, and they didn't make it easier for people to book hotels. They reimagined the entire industry. And it changed the face of how humans travel on this planet forever. It's never going back to the way it was. This is a fundamental, irreversible change, just like Bitcoin. And that's what we're looking at with the digital billboards. So like if we have, for example, imagine we have one large digital billboard in a physical city. Well, and let's say that city has let's say 1 million people living in it. Well, if you take that full board and divide it down into 10-second little chunks, so just 10 seconds of fame on the board. That gives you about a little over 3.1 million separate 10-second chunks in a year. Now you got 1 million people living in that city. That means I can essentially give out one free spot to every single resident of that city every single year for the rest of their lives, and still have 66% of that board in order to sell and do advertising with, and etc. Well, that sounds kind of crazy. MemeBrains, why would you give away a whole bunch of free space? Well, because first of all, that's what democratization is about. That's what decentralization is about. People should have access to these boards. We shouldn't have a small select few corporations that control everything we see on the side of the highways just because they have a bigger budget and a marketing team around it. This is publicly viewable. Therefore, it should be publicly accessible, right? And that's my view. So that's the first thing. Now, second, from a business perspective, because then you're like, okay, well, MemeBrains, that's great. You want to give everything for free. How are you going to make money? Well, it's easy, because when we allow 1 million people to access something where previously less than 1,000 people had access to it, this is a completely different sales funnel and market opportunity. We're ripping open the total addressable market, the TAM. We're ripping open that TAM by 1,000x. And in that 1,000x, we're giving people the option to access and buy upgrades and pay for more space and do other things on these boards that they were never able to do before. And that's where we get the margin spread and the business model around it that turns into something viable. So not only do we get to give free access to the entire country for anyone at any point to do anything on these boards within reason, not only are we giving free access to everyone, but we're also generating a more profitable model than our competitors have ever dreamed of. And that's the vision. So we did a micro experiment, a few months ago in Denver at an event, and it was really, really fun. So everything I'm saying is visionary and theoretical. And now we're doing our next event in Lisbon, Portugal, and we're simultaneously just raising up and getting our permanent locations established. We got some good investor interest, and we're in the middle of some important discussions. That's kind of all I can say on that for now. But anyways, there's my little ramble, in my own words.
Are you interested in building NFTs that'll disrupt traditional industries? You can get started by using Rarible protocol. It's an open source cross-chain NFT protocol that's community governed. You can check out the code on GitHub and then request an API key at rarible.org. No matter what NFT project you intend on building, Rarible protocol equips you with the necessary tools to turn your ideas into reality. If you like the fact that the Rarible protocol is community governed, consider joining the Rari Foundation, which is the DAO behind the protocol. Joining the Rari Foundation offers you the opportunity to help shape the future of NFT infrastructure. If you're looking to engage in governance and vote on key decisions, you can become a delegate by joining community calls and participating on forum, which will boost your reputation and help you earn some voting power through our delegate incentive program. If you'd like to learn more about the community, visit Rari Foundation and then join the Discord server and begin joining our calls and making connections with the community. A community that is all about supporting creators. The Rari Foundation demonstrated how much they support NFT creators by creating the Rari chain to make sure that royalties are embedded at the node level, ensuring that creators always receive royalties from secondary sales. By building on Rari Chain, you're safeguarded by a system that respects and protects creator earnings. Learn more about Rari Chain at rarichain.org. With Rari, you're joining a movement focused on decentralized governance, innovation, and creator empowerment. Now, back to the episode. Nice. I've experienced using the public board, and yeah, it was extremely easy. It was just like sending a tweet on Twitter. It was like pretty much no difference. Like all I had to do was upload the photo that I wanted to display for ETH Denver for OSPN, and was able to display that. Plus, it was really cool, like being able to work on your advertisement and know that it's going to be shown to all these people in the event, especially if you were unable to attend. So as you still allow for projects to have their presence felt within these events. So, and just like I said, the experience is so cool, and I just like how that you're not just making it easier for the legacy industries that were doing this before, but like you're like you said, like you're completely disrupting that market, you know. And this is what this podcast is all about, as well as is about disruption. How can we use Web3 to disrupt, not make it easier for Web2? So just like that, you guys are actually building towards disruption. I really appreciate that. And then since we're on that topic, just want to know for an example, like what's the current experience for getting ad space in an area like Times Square is like today, and how do you intend to disrupt that particular experience? Will you purchase prime real estate in New York City one day in order to make that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, and Times Square is a great example because it's very much a step in the right direction. And you could say you could consider that we're taking this Times Square concept and bringing it to global scale on every board everywhere. But taking it further as well. Like, basically, if you want to get on Times Square, there's a few ways to do it. Like Brex, for example, a really cool company. If you sign up with a Brex account as a company and you get, I don't know, I think there's a minimum, you have to have 50 grand in your bank or something. If you sign up with Brex, you get a free spot on Times Square. That's a cool thing. Or if you just contact, and go do it yourself solo, you can spend, last time I checked, it depends on the range, but, $50 or whatever the number is today, anyways. And you go through the scheduling process and you can get your stuff up there and they'll tell you when it's going to be live and you can kind of coordinate your photos around that and it's super fun, right? It's engaging and
Yeah.
and that's the way it should be on every board in the world, in my opinion.
Mhm.
It shouldn't just be a single one-off public stunt where you can just have some fun and move on. It's like, no, this should be the norm, not the exception.
Mhm.
So the Times Square concept is super cool. Obviously, we want to have some big boards in important areas and do this properly and showcase it correctly. So we're looking for those spots. We're looking in my home city. We're looking in San Francisco. We're looking in Nashville. There's a spot in Atlanta that looks really interesting. Obviously, New York would be interesting. I saw a couple spots in Las Vegas. They weren't quite the right ones yet.
Mhm.
So there's Chicago definitely is friendly toward digital billboards. So we're looking at like I don't want to say we're looking at all the options because we don't have the bandwidth to do that, but we are laser targeting and focusing on what seem to be the most viable locations as a starting block. And
Mhm.
we'll take our time with that. We don't want to rush it. We also don't want to take too long. But
Mhm.
ideally, in the next 6 months, we would have a physical spot up live where anyone can access anything they want on a real board in the real world.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's our vision, and that's the roadmap right now.
Nice, love it. And I know that you guys had such a strong presence at Eve Denver. What was that experience like for you? And what were some of your favorite ads displayed on the public board during the event? And did you guys provide any services for any other side events?
Yeah, so Denver was amazing. Denver, I had to ask myself, what's the easiest way to test out our assumptions? Right? As a startup founder, we have assumptions. We all do. If you're a startup founder listening to this, you probably have assumptions too. That's the
Mhm.
reality. We all think our product's the greatest in the world. It's going to be wonderful. Everyone's going to slam down our doors, throwing money at us, and we're going to get rich tomorrow and live on a yacht, and that's
Mhm.
not the reality. The reality is the startup grind is real. Like the struggle is real. And you got to test out these assumptions in micro experiments, figure it out, learn it, get some early customers, get feedback, talk to them, figure out what they actually want, not what you think they want. And so
Mhm.
in Denver, we thought, well, no. So first we thought, okay, what's the easiest way to do that? Test it out. And I thought, if we leased a large three-sided digital billboard truck, that's the easiest way to access a screen, and it's the easiest way to physically put it in front of a bunch of people. We bring the truck to a conference and we just park it right at their best locations. So
Mhm.
that's what we did, and we leased a truck in Denver for about 4.5 days, 16 hours a day, and parked it in front of all the after parties and the main conference hall and all that stuff. And we let people pre-register and test it out on social media to get people to put their art up, and then of course live on demand, people could on the spot work with putting their art and getting it into the system. And it was clunky and slow and very manual back then, but that was part of testing the assumption. Um, so that's what we did in Denver, and we ended up having over 900 pieces of content uploaded by over 700 different people who created free accounts. 147 of those people paid for upgrades, ranging from just a couple bucks all the way to several thousand, and that generated us a bunch of revenue in order to kick things off. And it was just a great experience. Like people loved the photos. The photos
Mhm.
People just loved having those photos to share on social media. They tagged us on it. They tagged their friends on it. They had infinite gratitude DMs. DMs were just like blowing up at people that were happy. My favorite pieces of content on the board were, and this might sound weird, but my favorite pieces were when people would share a photo of their dog, or a selfie,
Mhm.
or them on vacation, or some piece of art that created themselves. And I got
Mhm.
to see the excitement in their voice and the excitement in their messages, just to see their own personal art up physically on a board with a photo that was real.
Mhm.
So many artists out there are in their studio and they're just trying to get the word out. They're trying to
Right.
get their messaging out. They want people, they want an audience. They want people to see their art and appreciate it. And when you put it up on a big screen like that at a main center, it's a special feeling. It really is. And same with people putting selfies up or photos that of their vacations, and fun little things like that. They've never had access before, and this was one of my assumptions in the market that ended up being proven true, is that people didn't have access. They loved having that access, and they loved sharing it and telling people about it. And those are really important things as a founder to be able to say to an investor, or even just to have my own conviction that I should even keep focusing on this at all. Right? If we
Mhm.
did this and
Right.
everyone hated it, I'm probably not going to do another event or focus on it. But that wasn't the case. Out of 700 plus people, I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of anyone that was really just unhappy in some way, shape, or form. Like maybe a few people wanted a better photo. Look, I'm sorry the photos weren't better. I really did try. I swear to you, I was like 18 hours a day on this thing. So I
Mhm.
apologize. And the next one, we take those lessons, right? We have a much better photographer coming up at the next event.
Mhm.
And this is good motivation. This is good feedback. These are good problems. So it gets me really excited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was like on the back end, but from my experience for some,
Madness. That's what it was.
yeah, but on the front end, like the actual experience of submitting a photo to get displayed on Eve Denver, it was extremely simple. Yeah, just like attach a photo, submit it, and you're basically good to go from there. I guess that there's a short review process afterwards, of course, but yeah, and then letting you know like exactly like what time is going to be displayed was really cool, and was able to reach out to the OSPN team and let them know like, hey, we're going to have an ad displayed on Eve Denver. And then and it didn't cost us much either, so that was really cool. And then now you're giving away free ad space. And I remember seeing so many people showcase the ads that they displayed on Eve Denver and taking a picture of the truck as well. And I've seen like some of my friends do the same, like my friend Salmon, like seeing his advertisement, that made me proud. And like just to see that like all his like his recent endeavors were displayed at Eve Denver through the public board, and just seeing how excited he was about it on Twitter. And I've seen so many people tweet about it and share photos, and that's like a growth hack too as well because. For one, I haven't really seen so many people so excited about their billboard. At least, like not so many people at once. Like every now and then, I might see on Instagram of like an influencer that I'm cool with that talk about like their billboard, but you don't see that very often. Not too many people get billboard space, get live advertising space like that. So to see so many people all at once talk about it was really exciting. And then aside from that, now they're able to promote their work in front of a targeted audience as well. It's not random. This is at a conference where that where it would have benefited them to be there physically, but even if they wasn't, at least they're able to put their content in front of the right people as well. So
Yeah.
that's very powerful.
Oh, I love it. I love the feedback too, and this is the stuff that gets me excited. Hearing that you had a good user experience on it tells me that we're just, we got to keep working on it and
Mhm,
reiterating on it and bringing it to scale. We had 700 people that were excited about it in Denver. We want to have a few thousand at the next event in Lisbon, and then we want to
mhm,
scale that to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and really just truly give free access to a previously centralized industry. Just
mhm,
rip it apart and change it forever.
uh,
That's like that's one of the things that like that's why I'm in this industry. That's why I'm fascinated with Bitcoin. That's why I'm really into the ApeCoin DAO, and they provided, like, the ApeCoin DAO gave us a lot of support,
mhm,
and we're really grateful for that. And this is why I'm in this ecosystem, is to just change things for the better and bring revolution into areas that need it, and to
mhm.
empower people with access to things they didn't previously have before. It's so exciting. And like, why else be a founder? Why else live the startup? Why else live in a out of a suitcase for so long? I mean, I've been traveling. I'm in 3 weeks in Austin right now, Texas,
Mhm,
living out of a suitcase, right? All my friends, they're not here, right? My life isn't here. My stuff isn't here. And as soon
mhm,
as I'm done here, I get to go home for 2 weeks, and then I'm in Lisbon for 10 days. And after
mhm.
that, I think I'm going to Hong Kong for probably 2 weeks. And then
Oh,
after
nice.
that, I got to go to San Francisco for a couple weeks. So it's like, why do that? And the answer is this feeling of being alive, to see people's reactions, to see that we actually are on the brink of changing an industry forever. That's the motivation and the fuel to change the priority schedule, right?
Mhm.
It takes something big. Like, ask yourself, anyone listening, like, what would it take for you to be excited to uproot your whole life?
Yeah, I mean, it takes momentum, motivation, of course. Like you said, like actually doing something that's going to change an industry forever. That's enough motivation, and right there. And then from your point of view, like being able to see all these people's reaction and their experience from the public board at Eve Denver, that's some added momentum for sure to keep the drive going, I would say.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it takes a lot of motivation. And so what I dig at sometimes is, what is it that would inspire that motivation for you? Right? Because everyone listening to this, you got a nice life. You're at home. You got your stability. You got your routine. You got your work, your
Mhm.
friends, and all that kind of stuff. What would it take to make you so motivated to do something? And what would it take to get you so excited on something that you'd be willing to just uproot and leave all that stuff? Anyways, that's the
Mhm.
vibe that I get to run on. And it's a weird thing. It's a very weird thing.
And something that I noticed that like about the public board is that you're making this space much more physical now because like most of the ways that we contribute to this space is on our computer screens pretty much. So now we can actually showcase what we're doing publicly. And now like let's say you could put educational content up there now, like somebody could be walking past a board that may not know much about crypto, and then they can learn something different than what they normally was told about crypto. Like most of my friends and family members, when they hear cryptocurrency, they think of either a scam or like some useless meme token type of thing, or like an NFT that's like a cartoon picture. They don't really know anything about the tech stack. So like if they're just walking past a billboard aimlessly one day and then there's like an advertisement talking about how you can become your own bank with crypto and actually, own truly own your assets. Maybe that will give them a different perspective on Web3, and this could happen in the real world. They don't have to join a Discord server to hear something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And the public board as a venture is, you could say it's a traditional business, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's taking the principles of the Web3 world, it's taking the principles of decentralization and bringing it to this old school industry. Is there a crypto play with the public board in the future, like a direct crypto play? Undetermined, right? No formal plan today, but certainly a lot of interesting ideas. And I can't really go into or disclose any of that today because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it is in discussion and uncertain and not formalized. And there's a lot of investor discussions that are related. And so I can't go too deep into that. But this principle of decentralization that we see in the Web3 sphere is expanding outwards from the walled garden into
Mm-hmm.
the regular world now. And it's interesting to think, like, a lot of people don't look at it this way, but the truth is, Uber decentralized its industry. Previously, if you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be a taxi driver, you had to buy a medallion, and those medallions
Right.
were, hundred something $1,000. And if
Mm-hmm.
you owned them, you had a monopoly on driving in that area, and you had a monopoly on this tightly controlled and regulated market. So what Uber did was said, no, 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 no. You don't need medallions. You just need a car that is
Yeah.
reliable, and you need to not be a jerk, and you need to drive safe. That's all. Those are the three requirements, which it should be. The requirement to be a taxi, driver shouldn't be that you spent a bunch of money in a regulated industry to monopolize it against everyone else. No, no. The requirement should be safe car, friendly service, and rely and drive safe. That should be it, and that's what Uber did, right? And Uber has
Mm-hmm.
essentially decentralized their industry. But back then, the word decentralized wasn't used in that Web2 world, but it is what they did. And it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Airbnb. Airbnb's like, if anyone wants to provide accommodations, you shouldn't have to register, purchase, renovate, and run a hotel. You shouldn't have to do that. Now, Airbnbs are like a step in that right direction, but only partly. Airbnb essentially decentralized their industry. Now, you could also say, yeah, sure, but Airbnb, Uber, they're centralized entities, so it's actually not decentralized at all. No, no, no. Wake up and smell the roses. Like the centralization isn't binary 1-0; it's 1 on 100, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
previously you could say, well, maybe someone's critic is like, well, no, no, the taxi industry wasn't centralized. Anyone could buy a medallion. No, no, that's not true. If you're going to buy a medallion, you have to go through a huge process, tons
Mm-hmm.
of paperwork, over $100,000, commit your life to it. In order to maintain it, you got to do all these things. No, no, no. On a scale of 1 to 100, one being completely centralized and 100 being decentralized, I would say that the taxi industry was maybe at a 10. Maybe it was 10, mostly centralized with a partial decentralized in reality. Now with Uber, it's definitely not 100, but it's a lot more than 10.
Mm-hmm.
If I just threw a number at it, maybe it's 70%. Maybe it's 70 on a scale towards decentralized. So that's a 7 times, if those numbers are are accurate to any degree, that's a 7 times increase in the decentralized factor of that company going from taxis to where we are today, amplified by the fact that it's publicly traded, meaning anyone can own shares in it and be able to ride along, no pun intended, on the profits, the revenues, the increase. So we got to add in from 70 all the way to 80, 80 or 90 at this point. Like it's essentially a decentralized market, and you can look at Airbnb the same way. Order of magnitude increased in decentralization, even though it's still not fully decentralized. And where's that going to be in 50 years? I don't know. Maybe in 50 years it is completely decentralized. Maybe it's all autonomous vehicles that maintain themselves and take their own revenue from an AI engine and attribute some of that revenue to fill their own gas and maintain themselves, and they have a
Mm-hmm.
system that brings them to the repair shop, and maybe these I'm in an Airbnb right now, and right now all the key access is done through the Stratus app, and when I leave, the signal goes to the cleaners, and the cleaners come, and when they're done, they hit another signal, and then the signal says, "Okay, release the payment," like smart contract, all this stuff, and that's a very viable future. 50 years is a very long way away for that. It's more like 5 or 10.
Mm.
So this decentralization is in every aspect of our lives, Web 2, Web 3. Uh, Anyways, it gets me really excited when we look at it from the because we have to look at a macro perspective, right? And that's the it's total side rant. I've been watching. I just finished watching the series, "The One Body Problem" on Netflix, or "The Three Body Problem" on Netflix.
Mhm.
Have you heard of that or seen it?
No, I haven't heard of it. Nope.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a bunch of aliens, like an alien invasion, and the aliens observed that the human evolution is increasing in speed. It's compounding on itself. It started with, we go back 100,000 years, we're, hunter-gatherers, and then 10,000 years ago, we got this agrarian, movement happening, and we got farms, and we're densifying our areas, and then 2,000 years ago, look at the evolution in that, and the way that we have markets and seafaring, shipments going all across the world. And then, a few hundred years ago, industrial revolution, a couple hundred years ago, automobile revolution, 50 years ago, internet, 13 years
Mhm.
ago, Bitcoin, 3 years ago, AI. I make songs
Yeah.
now. I put a one-man line command prompt and I come out with these amazing sounding beat drop EDM mixes with exactly the lyrics I want. And I have no idea how to mix music. And so the speed of our species in developing new technology and hitting new tipping points and revolutions is decreasing. Sorry, the distance between those big milestones is decreasing. The speed of our evolution is increasing. And so in this three body problem show, the aliens realize that, and they're like, "Holy crap! In 100 years, these tiny little humans are going to be more advanced than we are, and that's a problem." And
Mhm.
because it's true,
Mm.
at the rate of our acceleration right now, what we're going to be looking at in 10, 20, 30 years in terms of decentralization, AI, decentralized money, how we govern ourselves in our DAOs, is going to transfer into governance in the real world politics. It's a really fascinating time to be alive, man.
Oh, for sure. As you were talking about, well, I got to check out that show. You said it's called the Three Body. What was it called? The Three Body Problem or
The three
Perspective?
body problem.
The Three Body Problem, and it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna check
I'm
that out. And
99% sure it was Netflix, but if it's not, you'll find it somewhere.
yeah, I'll find it. So yeah, I'm gonna check that out. And it goes over AI and all of that. Like all of our advancements was discussed. Bitcoin too.
They don't talk about Bitcoin specifically. They just talk about, there's a certain part that talks about the evolution of our species happening
Okay.
at such a increasing frequency, and it's compounding in its momentum.
Mhm.
It gave me that perspective. I kind of knew that, and I've talked about that in different keynotes and podcasts, but but for me, it's always been something I talk about. It's not something I hear other people specifically talk about, not frequently anyways. And when it
Mhm.
goes to Netflix and it's openly, watched by millions of people, that's different. That changes things. That's mainstream. I remember the first time
Mhm.
hearing Bitcoin on TV. I think it was an episode of The Big Bang Theory. I was watching it with my parents, and they were talking about Bitcoin for the first time. I was like, "Holy shit, we just got mainstream."
Yeah. What year was that around when they
uh
talked about?
that would have been 2017.
Mhm. Oh man, I wish I would have
And
got in that around that time. Yeah, the matter
And
of fact,
obviously, it was talked about. Like, obviously, Bitcoin had made the news everywhere, many times before that. But
mhm.
for me, anyways, it was the first time seeing it in a regular show, used in a regular language, as if
Mhm.
it was normal. That's what was unique. Oh,
Mhm.
this is normal now.
Yeah, especially when it's talked about in a way where either it's positive or at least neutral. The first
Yeah,
time I ever heard about Bitcoin was in 2018, and it was from this rapper. He was doing a live stream on YouTube.
love it.
Unfortunately, he was talking negatively about it, so I didn't really pay too much attention to Bitcoin at this time in 2018. He was saying it's basically just dark web money, and it's only used for like nefarious things. So
Yeah, he wasn't totally wrong at the time.
yeah, he wasn't. No, he definitely wasn't totally wrong, but it didn't give the full story. And then fast forward to 2021, that's when I decided to learn about Bitcoin for myself. Once I got into investing, got into GME pretty early, and yeah, that's when I said, let me actually find out what Bitcoin is about for
Yeah.
myself, since I need exposure to some more volatility. I do know
That's a healthy question. Let me find out what Bitcoin is actually about. How many people actually ask that? Like none. People that ask me about Bitcoin, they ask me how to get rich. How do I make
hmm
money on Bitcoin? Like,
hmm
but they don't ask what is it about. I love that you had that mindset. What is it about? That's where you start. That's where beginning is for everything. You don't just run in randomly to a slot machine and throw money in. Well, I guess that's not true. I guess millions of people do run in randomly to a slot machine and pull the. They do, but let's just not do that with crypto.
Right. Yeah, because that's kind of like what I did with GME. And then once I started to learn a bit about what Bitcoin was, that's when I pretty much said to hell with the stock market, and I just went in like I went in deep into Web3, like in crypto, learning about not just Bitcoin but Ethereum. Really learning about Ethereum is what changed my mindset about crypto
Yeah,
altogether. Especially learning how you could put data into the blockchain, not just transactions. Completely like blew my mind and made me want to truly understand this space and spend so much time to understand it. But
yeah.
I do know you have to run really soon. So is there any final words that you have for our audience
No,
before we go?
just we got NFC Lisbon coming up. It's a awesome conference in Portugal. If you can't make it, if you can make it, either way, we're giving out a free display spot to everyone. Anyone listening to this show, you can access. You can give a. We're giving you a free display spot. You can put whatever you want on the main screen at the front entrance, front and center, directly to the main conference center. Right, you walk into the building. There's a big archway. Everyone has to go through that archway to get into the building. And as soon as you walk through that archway, there's a huge screen right in front of you, right in front of your face. And you have to turn left or right to get into the venue. And that's the screen that we leased. Every single person in and out of that venue sees that screen. And we're giving free access to everyone. All you do is just go to Public Board. That's our Public Board is our Twitter. Just go to publicboard.com. Board is spelled BORED. So just board, and or just DM me on Twitter. DM me. I'm MemeBrains here. Just DM me. I'll show you and help you along the process. We're just giving away free spots to everyone. It's a community incentive. It's a community vibe initiative. There's no strings attached. It's sponsored by the ApeCoin DAO. The ApeCoin DAO helped make this dream come and become a reality. So I have huge shout outs and appreciation infinitely for ApeCoin DAO for this. And we just want to see everyone's art up on the board in NFC Lisbon. So DM me on it. Would love to help you through that. And, can't wait to see it. And if you're going to be there, definitely DM me. I would love to hang out.
Hell yeah. Well, we just put in our spot for the
Yeah.
free slot. So
All right.
OSPN will have a presence at ETH
Woo.
Lisbon.
Let's
Thanks for
do it.
making that happen, man. And yeah, it was super simple, really easy to do so. So go to the Public Board's website, check out their Twitter, Public Board, BORD is how you spell board. And
BORED.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, BORED, how you spell board. And yeah, and just get started, claim your free space, and yeah, be able to upload your photo and get it displayed at the entrance at ETH Lisbon. All right. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Meme Brains. Thank you for this interview and for sharing the updates about Public Board. And thank you for everyone in the audience that came out to join us today. Appreciate you all. And I hope you all have a great weekend as well.
Thank you as well, Jaris. It's always a pleasure keeping tabs, keeping connected. Appreciate you, appreciate everything you do, your dedication to the space, constant content. Love
Mhm.
it. So yeah, man, appreciate you, and we'll see you around.
Oh, for sure. All right. Talk to you soon.